Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of applying the Babylonian exile to our own lives. So what was the Babylonian exile? It's a story much less familiar to Catholics than the Exodus story. Exodus, right? Egypt, slavery. Moses takes them across the desert into the promised land and they become the chosen people. Well, first of all, they're both EX words, right? Exile, Exodus. I was confused when I first started saying, what's the difference? Are they the same thing? And actually, to begin with, the Babylonian exile goes in the opposite direction of the Exodus. Exodus was into the promised land. Babylonian exile is out of the promised land. Why did it happen? Well, at this time, the country is called Judah, and Judah's kings made alliances with the wrong countries. They were defeated once. There were some deportations. 15 years later, they rebel again. They have other allies. Again, they chose the wrong allies, and they are defeated. King Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylonia who conquered Judah. He ended the monarchy for all time. So remember, there was King Saul, King David, King Solomon. The kings continued. They'll never have a king again. And King Nebuchadnezzar imposes the exile on the people of Judah. When did it happen? It happened about 600 years before Jesus was born. So he would certainly have grown up knowing the Babylonian exile story by heart. It lasted about 50 years. Who was exiled? Well, the Babylonian Empire's policy was to deport whole cities when they conquered the countries. They didn't kill everybody off. They wanted to use the skills of these conquered people. So they are going to send into exile the people who have skills, who have power, who have wealth, the people who might rebel again. So the educated are sent off, the wealthy, the successful, not just the city successful, but if you were a successful farmer, they would want what skills and talents and knowledge you had. Of course, the warriors, the soldiers who might rebel again, they got deported. The artisans, the people who had any kind of specialty in craft or skills in craft, get deported. And who's left behind are basically the people with no skills, no wealth, not much success. It's kind of like the virus in the sense that the Babylonian exile affects everybody, but not equally. The Babylonian exile affects everybody, but not equally. They got deported basically to the city of Babylon and surrounding areas, which is a 1,600-mile walk from Jerusalem. Babylon was close to the city of today, the city we know as Baghdad in Iraq. So just think about what cities are 1,600 miles away from where you live. That's a long walk. Just like we don't know when this pandemic would end, those being exiled didn't know when it would end. How long does it take to walk 1,600 miles? And they couldn't even be positive that they were going to be going to Babylon. They were the conquered people. They had to go where they were sent. In the Babylonian exile situation and our situation today, we are asking the same questions. Why is this happening? I didn't do anything to deserve this. How are we going to get through it? Well, science has one answer, politics has another answer, but faith makes a contribution. And so as people of faith, we ask, how did people of the Babylonian exile get through their hard times? Day 1, I told you we'd be looking at Psalm 137, verses 1 through 4. Perhaps you've looked at it before and never wondered about the reference to Babylon, or maybe you did and said, where's Babylon and why is it all of a sudden appearing? Well, now you know why there's a reference to Babylon. It was written from the position of the exiles. Verse 2 gave the title to these talks. It says, we hung up our harps. And so these will be called, should we hang up our harps? My thought when I read that was, maybe temporarily, but musicians never completely give up on their music. And so we are not going to hang up our harps permanently either. We are stubborn and strong and creative, and we are people of faith. So hanging up our harps for a little bit maybe, but not permanently. Tomorrow we'll look at the same psalm again, Psalm 137, verses 1 through 4. And then going forward after that, there's another 13 passages from Scripture related to the Babylonian exile that we'll be looking at in the days ahead. See you tomorrow.